Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Diamonds podcast. This will be episode 11. I'm your host, JC, and I'm joined again tonight with CJ. How you doing, CJ?
Fantastic. Glad you're back. So it's not just me talking for 45 minutes aimlessly about random things that I'm sure people are like, where's he going with this now?
Yeah, no, I apologize. With as we've said in several of the other podcasts, we both have other jobs, and mine has been rather demanding as of late with issues getting ourselves back to normal. So I do apologize for that, and I know that last week there was no other days that matched up for you and I to connect. So I appreciate you moving forward without me, and hopefully we won't have to do that too often. And if we do foresee it, that we can jump into another day. So
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
another great week of baseball, a lot of exciting things. Just wanted to kind of get your feel to start and kick off your thoughts on the past week.
Well, I texted you on Saturday and said I was going to start the episode off with this, and we're probably going to name it the
Yep.
episode this. We're cursed. You and me. Everything we talk about on here, it goes the opposite way, like within a week. So let's start a couple of things just
Red
so people
Sox
can
going to be
back
the
us up.
worst in the division. Red Sox going to be the worst in the division.
Well, you said that. I said fourth, maybe even better. We'll see what
No, I'm
happens.
just
So
trying to
that was
jinx it.
you.
I'm just trying to jinx it. I'm just
Oh
trying
yeah,
to
yeah,
jinx
you know,
it.
yeah.
That's
Let's
all.
hammer that down. Yeah, Red Sox are terrible. Um, Wyatt Langford, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, needing to get some.
Jesus.
Max
Yep.
Fried, we talked about. I think it was he was doing it while we were talking. Was throwing a
Yep.
complete game gem, and what a week later, hurt.
Yep.
Nolan Jones, you brought it up and were questioning his struggles. He immediately went 3 for 6 right after that, and then now he's on the injured list. 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago, I said to everybody, let's see what the A's do. Maybe they're not as bad as we think they are. Yeah, well, they proceeded to go, 2-5 that week, and then since then they're 2-12 and have lost now 8 straight entering today.
Yep.
Nice job on my part. And then last week I said the Padres may be sneaky good. The first 3 games after that, they got swept by the Rockies. But then they've had, changing of the tide a little bit with the Braves. But
Yep.
again, you get swept by the Rockies, it's a different conversation.
Yep.
So whatever we talk about today, make sure you watch for the next week because it might not be the same. That's a beautiful
Yep.
play by Rafaela.
Well, I told you they stink, so maybe they're going to turn it around. Although tonight they're already up 5-0, so there's
Yeah, we probably should have waited on saying that until they were down or something.
yeah, should have waited. Going to jump out too far ahead. So yeah, no, it does seem that, and again, this is not par for the course, but like it's early in the year. There's still a lot going on. There's still a lot of guys struggling, a lot of guys working their way back from injury or back on the injured list. There's a lot of things happening right now that neither one of us, really predicted. The one I won't give you too much crap about is your Detroit Tigers, and because I was thinking they had the pitching, the bats just have not supported it right now, and Maeda hasn't been what I anticipated for them, and the Cincinnati Reds are the other one that I really thought that they were going to do well, and I also am surprised by the Arizona Diamondbacks and their
The other one,
struggles.
too, the Brewers. I think we both had them finish at the bottom of the division.
Yep. Yep, that was another
After
one,
all
and
that,
I'm waiting. I am patiently waiting for something to happen there, but I've done it when writing the roster moves for the Brewers. You can see they're making the right calls at the right, and they're not waiting. They're making a bunch of them, moving them up and down, and I kind of now watching a lot of what the Cubs do, I see where Council's getting it. He's making a lot of moves, letting guys play. The first 6 innings, he'll play Morel at third, and then Madrigal comes in at the seventh to play defense. And he's making all these moves with what he has, but they're also doing it with what's in the minors and moving people around, pitchers up and down, giving them rest. It's really interesting to see, and I can still see that effect in Milwaukee. And I don't know what's going to happen there because they still have Devin Williams coming back too, unless something is announced tomorrow that he's going on the 90-day IL instead of the 60.
yeah.
We'll have to see. So what for you
But
was,
and the
other
next
than the
one,
fact that we can't seem to get anything right? Go ahead.
are the Astros back? I said to you a couple weeks ago, they could be a team, that don't count them out. They might get off to a slow start. Don't count them out. Since then, they've taken 2 of 3 from the Tigers. They swept the A's, 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. They were 6-1 last week with a run differential of 22, plus 22. And in their last 10 games, they're 8-2 with a run differential of plus 25. So, and they're right back in that race. They're 4 games back. That's entering tonight. I
Yep.
don't think they might play tonight. But they're a team that, like I said, don't count them out. Everybody was talking about Verlander and Bregman getting traded at the deadline. That looks like it could. Obviously, it's May. I mean, we're approaching the end of May, and now get interesting when June hits, where you're in the dog days of summer now, and get conversations about who's really good, who's going to compete, and then everybody says it too. That extra playoff spot now, where 6 teams make it, that makes teams, hold off a little bit longer before selling, unless you're the Marlins and you trade Luis Arraez when you do.
Yeah.
My next one, it's somebody that you actually probably know quite a bit about because you cover this team, Robert Gasser. I've been impressed by him so far. If you're not familiar with him, he was acquired in the Josh Hader trade with the Padres. He's so far for the Brewers this season, he's made 2 starts. He's 2-0 with a 0.82 ERA, a 0.82 WHIP, 6 strikeouts, which I'd like to see that number a little higher. He's pitched 11 innings. He goes tomorrow. He's previously pitched against the Cardinals and Pirates, so not great teams, but it's interesting to watch. He's got nice stuff, and there's a couple of videos. I think it was Pitching Ninja or something like that. Somebody like that tweeted out a couple of videos of him pitching. He looks good, and it's
only one walk so far.
That's the other thing.
One walk and 1 hit batter. I mean, I think for any guy that's coming up from the minors is be around the plate. You don't necessarily have to be a Paul Skenes and strike out a ton, but as long as you're not giving up the hits and you're not giving up any free passes, you're giving yourself a shot.
So he's a guy that I'm excited to watch. I'll probably have that on one of my screens tomorrow and tune into that start because he's interesting. I mean, that pitching, it's not big name guys, but it's part of the reason why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, so him, if he is the real deal, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be an arm to watch the rest of the season. And we know I love talking about arms.
Yep. So, yes, you do.
Next one, and this was an interesting one to me. I wasn't expecting this, and as I watched Sunday Night Baseball last night, and he got a hit, and it was an interesting hit that not many people are getting. Marcell Ozuna is off to a hot start.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the fact he's in the National League with Shohei and Mookie Betts, he probably is up there in the MVP conversation. Right now, I'd probably have him 3rd, and if not 4th, because you never know what Freddie Freeman's going to do going forward. And I mean, he's still hitting the ball too. But Ozuna is riding a 12-game hitting streak entering tonight's game. I don't know. It's 3-0 in the top of the 9th right now, so I don't know if he's even playing or if he's gotten a hit tonight. But entering tonight's game, he had a 12-game hitting streak. He's 16 for 41 in that time with a 390 average. He has a double, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 runs, 5 walks. And this season, he's hitting 323 with a 1.020 OPS. He has 13 home runs, 42 RBIs, and 25 runs scored. Now, if you had told me that before the season started that was Ronald Acuna's numbers, I would have said, yeah, that sounds about right. Marcell Ozuna, I did not see that coming. And that makes me question, did the Braves not see that coming, and that's why they brought Duvall back? And now he's doing this, and so now they're kind of in a logjam?
He's only 33 years old. I mean, I think a lot of people, just myself included, and I think we talked about it early on when we were talking about another person that's been suspended that we'll touch upon earlier, is that he was suspended a while back.
Right.
And kind of came back in that first year back. He was really he has the talent. He did it when he was with the Cardinals and has done it with the Braves, but he had that down year. So kind of, again, you've got Riley, you've got Acuna, you've got Albies, you've got Matt Olson. He's typically, if you're looking at normal stats, he's the 5th, maybe 6th guy, with Sean Murphy also in that lineup.
Yep. That lineup's just loaded from top to bottom.
Oh, it's unreal.
I mean, and they got hit with the injury bug. Strider's out. I believe he's out for the year, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So, I mean, they got hit with the injury bug in their rotation, but next man up mentality. Reynaldo Lopez, who saw the journeyman coming in and doing what he's doing. Chris Sale stayed healthy and he looks filthy. I mean,
Yeah.
so he's the most interesting bat in that lineup to me to the hot start. Like it's just Acuna is not Acuna yet. And right now, I mean, granted, going into today, I don't know where they're at right now, but going into today, they were 5 games back. I think they're actually 5.5 after this
Yeah.
afternoon's game. So 5.5 back of the Phillies, which is if the Phillies keep playing like they're playing, they got a good series coming up. But I'll get to that later.
Yep.
So that's gonna be that division. Like we said before, it's just a 2-team race. You said it too. It might be the Phillies division this year, and it's looking more like that. But one come playoff time, you can't count this Braves team out, and you know they're getting in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they're getting in. I mean, they're my pick to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
So my next one, and this was a little bit because I like them as one of my National League teams. The Marlins had a good week,
Yep. They did.
going 4-2 and 3 straight shutouts. Of all teams, I didn't see that coming. Shut out the Tigers twice with 2-0 or 1-0 and 2-0, whatever. I might have those flipped.
I almost sent you a message this weekend when I was watching those. I was like, man,
that was tough. I mean, that's
Yep.
part of what we said was the Tigers lineup is struggling. But then I couldn't believe Saturday's game. I had it on for a little bit because I believe at that time it was the only game on, and I had to shut it off because I was like, this game's over. I'm gonna go find something else. At that point, I think another game had started, and then all of a sudden they scored 4 runs in the ninth to force extras, and then they walked it off with Otto Lopez. Which where did he come from? He had a great week, or not? I
Yep.
shouldn't say a great week, but he had a good week. He went 6 for 22 with a double, home run, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and a walk. The big one though for the week was De La Cruz. He loved facing the Tigers. I mean, he had a game-winning run scored, and he had the walk-off home run. So he had a hell of a week. He's loving Miami. He loves facing the Tigers. So keep him away from the AL Central. Whatever we do not let him join the AL Central. Especially if they start selling off more pieces in the next coming weeks. Don't let him be one of them.
Yeah.
Going into that, though, let's feed right into the Tigers for a second. Tarek Skubal.
Unreal.
Is he I believe I know he was in my top 3, but he was my Cy Young pick, right?
Yeah.
He was yours too, right? Or do you have somebody else?
Oh god. I went with one of the Mariners. I think I
That's right.
had
Okay.
Gilbert or Kirby.
So I was interested by this, and I was like, I know he's been good, but where does he rank right now across all of baseball and the American League? His 6-0 record is the best in the American League, only second to Ranger Suarez, who's 8-0 for the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a 1.80 ERA after his start on Friday against the Diamondbacks, which now puts him entering play today, the 6th best ERA in baseball and the 2nd best ERA in the American League. He's got a 0.78 whip, which is the 2nd best in baseball and the best in the American League, and 66 strikeouts, which is 6th in MLB, 4th in the American League. Now, I know, like I said last week, record doesn't really matter. I mean, your team could be terrible and your record's 3-8, but you have an ERA of 1 something and a whip of just under 1. How are you not in the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
So he's the reason why the Tigers are even still in this right now. And of course, I feel bad for Gage wrote a great article about Reese Olson and how that guy gets no run support. And it seems like they just took all their run support from Reese Olson and just gave it to Tarek Skubal the other start because it was 13-0. What I can't wait for, and I think right now from what I've seen, it lines up that next week they have a 2-game series against the Pirates.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, it looks like those 2 games are going to be Jared Jones and Paul Skenes, which we'll talk about in a little while.
Yep.
But I believe that Skenes game is going to be against Skubal.
That'll be a good one.
So that'll be, if you like watching pitching and watching a pitcher's duel, that might be the game to watch. The future, well, I guess technically the future, both future arms, because Skubal is very young.
Yep.
So, but another interesting pitcher that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you watched his start this past weekend, is Alek Manoah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I did. I watched the condensed game afterwards.
Could he be back?
Mm.
I mean, so he got called up, and his first start was not good. Came against the Nationals, going 4 innings. He gave up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned on 6 hits, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Since then, he's gone 14 innings, given up 3 runs, none earned, 5 hits, 2 walks, and 13 strikeouts. And those 2 games didn't come against bad teams. One was the Twins, the other one was the Rays. So I he's an arm that, and we'll talk about this in a little while with the other Blue Jay stuff that you want to cover.
Yeah.
Um, if he can get back on track, I think he's good for baseball. And he reminds me of a player that we'll talk about later on. But I liked watching him pitch. Last year, I actually had him as my Cy Young pick, and then obviously that didn't go right, and he's just been a roller coaster ever since then. And they didn't have a spot for him in the rotation to start the year. They didn't really want to have him as a spot for him to start the year because they planned on, from what I've heard, they were planning on my top prospect in the Blue Jays system, Ricky Tiedemann, being in the rotation, and he got hurt. And so then they went to, I think there was a competition between Yariel Rodriguez, who they signed from Mexico, Manoah, and Bowden Francis. And Francis won. And then all of a sudden, Rodriguez got a look. He came up, and it was kind of like he was the starter, but he would go 4 innings, and then they go to Francis. And then both of those guys go down. So what do? You turn to the third option you have in Manoah. And aside from the first start, he's looked good ever since. I mean, so his right now through 3 starts, his numbers are 1-1 with a 3 ERA, a 4.71 FIP, a 0.94 WHIP, 19 strikeouts, and 18 innings pitched. Not bad,
No.
but something to watch for sure over the next couple weeks. I don't remember when he pitched Saturday. Because he pitched yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, because Brios is today.
Yeah.
So he pitches again against the Tigers, I want to say on Friday, because they have a 4-game set with the Tigers this weekend. So I believe he'll have Friday's game. I think. Let me think. Barrios, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Friday.
Yeah.
I'll get Friday's game. So I'll be tuned in for that because it'll be Barrios. I think it's going to be Casey Mize or Reese Olson, one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Mize is Friday night. I think I've got him on one of my fantasy teams, and I believe I was looking at that. I think it's a Friday night. If not Friday, it's Saturday. But
I'm trying to think right now who's throwing today. It's Olson today, Mize tomorrow. So that means Skubal's Wednesday.
Might be Sunday.
Yeah, I think Mize, because I think they avoid Skubal. The Blue Jays avoid Skubal.
Yeah.
So it's got to be, I think it's Flaherty, Manning, or I might have those two flipped, Olson, and then Mize. So Mize is Sunday.
Yep.
Because I'm going to miss Skubal next weekend.
That's right. That's right.
So my last one from the weekend, or it's really not even from the weekend. It's from the whole first, what are we, 8.5 weeks in the season now? 7.5 weeks? 8.5 weeks.
Yep.
I wrote an article a while back. It was right after you wrote yours about Ellie De La Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that he could do something we've never seen before. And at the time I was like, this really isn't going to happen. Like, I can't see it. Something's going to happen. But the things he's doing right now, it very well could. And that is a 30 home run, 80 stolen base season. The home runs is now the iffy part. The stolen bases, he really might get 80.
Yeah.
Right now, I did the numbers today. He's on pace for 103 stolen bases this year.
Yeah.
And at that point, I got to say he's got to reach 80. I mean, granted, in his last 5 games, he's only got 4, and they all came in one game.
Yeah.
But if you can go 5 games and steal 4 bases and 4 of them come in running one game, I mean, I'll take that any day.
Yeah. No.
So I wrote that. If you go back, I think it's like the 6th or 7th article down on the Reds tab. If you want to go read that. But I'm curious. Do you think he could actually get 30 home runs, 80 stolen bases?
I I did the article before just in regards to the pace he was setting at that point. I think he was at like 100 stolen bases, over 100 stolen bases at that point, and he was over 30 home runs on pace at that point. He was right in the middle of his hot streak when it was starting to get heating
I think
up.
it was 45 and 110. I think
Yeah,
I crunched it right
45
around
and
that.
1. Yeah, 45 and 110. I think my hope, I should say, for the Reds in general is I would like to see 80 instead of 100, because if he's at 80, that means more than likely he's starting to hit the gaps a little bit and drive the ball a little bit more and get some doubles rather than steal second and then third.
Yeah.
That's he has been walking more, or was, and I think for him, the other thing too is I'd like to see some runners on in front of him. That
Yeah.
would kind of, I think that's another reason why he's had this free reign on the base pass, not just because he's got the ability and the speed, but there's generally no one else on base. So he's trying to do it all himself. Spencer Steer is kind of slumping off a little bit. Jonathan India hasn't done anything, but I really think my hope would be is that 80-30. I mean, obviously to see someone steal over 100 bases would be amazing. But my hope would be for the Reds and for him that they get some more runners on base in front of him. So instead of stealing, both bags to get on third base, that he would be, maybe a single drive guy to third or whatever, and then steal second to get in scoring position. But 80, I think, is well in reach, given what he's doing right now.
Can we just get him stealing home?
I was thinking about that the other day. I don't know who the hell I was talking to now, but it was someone talking about stealing home and in regards to, what it takes and how rare it is. And I'm like, well, Duran did it, and I think I think that it's going to be interesting. It would be really cool as if it's in a game that matters. You know what I mean? And the score is close and he pulls it off. Because I think that right now I could see that with the Reds that are sputtering so much offensively, that being the spark plug he is, especially depending on who's at bat and who's pitching, I can see him trying to pull it off, especially if there's a guy on first base, because they just totally forget about it.
Yeah. My one last one I just thought of that popped in my head, and just because it happened tonight and I forgot to write it down. And I'm just trying to crunch the numbers right now to see if it's possible. And I don't think it is, but I'm curious. And I want to see if you think it could happen. Jaron Duran breaking the triples record this season. The record's 36.
What's Oh, Jesus. 36. And what's he at? Like 10?
8 after tonight.
After tonight, 8. We're
And I
a
want to
third
say,
of the way.
what's he tripled in like 3 straight games now?
He's so here's another reason why this is very much so like De La Cruz and hitting the 100. Not a lot of guys are getting on base in Boston right now.
Yeah.
So in terms of him being slowed up and having to settle for a double, he's got the, once he gets those wheels going, if he gets a little bit of a window, he's taking it. And that's pressure on the outfield arms and the relay arms, and he's taking advantage of it right now. And he's hitting the ball really well, and he's utilizing the green monster really well as well.
Let's be serious though. Yesterday's, do we really want to count that as a triple? I don't know if did you see it with the
Yeah.
Arenado ball? They literally said on the Roku, which I want to talk about that towards the end of the episode and your thoughts on that. But I thought it was funny that they literally said right after the play, let's see how they score this. And then it just came right away, triple.
Yeah.
Which I get. Like, it was the sun played a factor. So that is a hit. It's not an error. But
No.
the triples, that's wow. To get a triple on, they said it too in the broadcast, that might have been the shortest triple in baseball history.
Yeah, without a throwing. Yeah, I mean, it was. It's definitely, if not the shortest, it's a tie for second. There shouldn't be any others quite like that.
He's electric. He's electric.
Yeah.
Watching him is so much fun. And they were talking about it. I started somewhere today. They were talking about it. he changed from a power guy to he's just a contact guy now. And he's got the speed that he can make it an inside the park home run too.
Yeah, he's driving the ball to all fields right now. He
Yep.
pulled one. I don't know if it was this weekend or whatever. He hit a home run to right,
Mm-hmm.
and that I don't know if it was Lou Merlone or if it was Uke in the box at the time talking through the game, and that's good to see. He's going to all fields. He's utilizing everything, and I also during that game he might have been the best move that wasn't made this offseason by the Red
Yes.
Sox
Yep.
by keeping him, and he is electric. He's if he can keep this pace, I think what he's either gonna beat the triples record or come close and maybe have over 20, but some of these triples going to end up turning into more doubles
Right.
and more home runs, and he's just going to be well rounded, which is what this Boston team needs in the future. And he kind of recently, and I hate to bring him up, recently he's been kind of reminding me more and more of Jacoby Ellsbury using the
Yes.
wall, and I kind
Yep.
of see it a little bit more and more each time, and as he's developing, so which isn't a bad thing, obviously,
Nope.
but yeah,
I think
he's a fun guy to watch.
they have a big question on their hands for 2025. That's for sure. With Abreu, Rafaela, Duran, Anthony all coming, and that's with Ref Snyder and you got Yoshida. I think Yoshida's gone, but that you create a logjam now. Where what are you going to do? I think Rafaela is your center fielder. Once you have a shortstop back, I think you really have to make the conversation of Duran and Anthony, and then that kind of puts Abreu in a tough spot. But I also debated this the other day, and I curious your thoughts. This is completely off topic. This wasn't from my weekend, but both being New England fellas and being Red Sox fans. What about the idea of he played there the other day too? Rafaela goes to third. You get rid of Yoshida, Devers DHs, and then you could keep O'Neill, Abreu, Duran, and Anthony, and you have 4 outfielders, and you could rotate, and then Devers is your DH.
So I haven't seen enough of
or Meyer at third. I didn't
well,
even think of
that's
that.
what I was just gonna say. Like Rafaela seems to have more he seems just to be a little bit quicker and a little bit more reaction time and speed. Now his glove compared to Meyer, I don't know, or Mayer. I think in that situation there, if I was going to do anything, and I don't even know if Jesus, now I'm looking at it deeper. What if you moved Marcel Mayer to second, Rafael at short, and Story to third?
Then you question the elbow of Story that he's had. I think
Then,
a surgery or
two of
well,
them. So
one,
I'd move.
least.
I would actually move him to move Rafaela to either short or third with Mayer, vice versa, and then put Story at second.
But then you could trade Grissom for something. But I like Grissom, but who knows?
He's looked like shit to start the year, and he hasn't had spring training. I get that.
Well,
but,
and he's also he was sick. He lost 14 pounds. That throws off your timing. So
yeah,
it's weird. It seems like they've gone away from him because right now we got Gonzalez at second.
Yeah, who hasn't looked bad. He's a good utility guy. I mean, compared to what we have, he's not horrible.
Not bad at all.
The other thing that with Story, he's probably another big injury away from thinking about things.
Right.
I don't want to wish that on anyone because I actually love Trevor Story, and it sucks that he had that injury he had this year because it was a hustle play. You know what I mean? An effort play.
Right.
Wasn't like pulling up lame, running down. Yeah, it is what it is. And I really think that really him being in this lineup every day, especially right now, changes the outlook of them offensively a little bit more than because you think about it, they have Tyler O'Neill, they have Devers, and then that's really it for power.
They're trying to just stay afloat till Costas comes back, which good news on him. He's coming back in June. It sounds like he's coming off the first day he's actually allowed to be off the injured list,
which is good. They need that bat, and hopefully he can get back to where he was going. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one because I've been trying to. I'm blacked out from watching the Red Sox, so I have to watch every game on replay because of the network I've got. I don't have Nesson yet. I'm gonna figure that one out and getting that back. Um, but when watching it, it's kind of I already know what happened to a certain degree, so I'm not paying as close attention as I should be on every play to see um, the positioning, to see how he gets to the ball, like just to see how he is he using momentum picking up the ball? Does he wait on it? Is he relying on his arm? There's all those little things that when talking about Rafael at short, that he's obviously an athlete. He's not Mookie Betts, but he's a great athlete to be jumping around like he has been. And I think it does open up that door that and I agree with you. Yoshida, as much as I liked him last year, just for some reason seems like he has fallen right out of interest with that team. And now that saying that, I wonder if there's a team in California that might want him.
I'm sure there's a bunch of teams that might be interested. I just don't think they want to take the money.
No, the only
I
team
think
that
that's
has the
real big.
money for is the Dodgers.
You know who I wonder would like that? Would like the money? It's the guy that signed him, sitting in St. Louis, who might be the future GM of that team.
They are a hot mess, but that's
Yep.
yeah. I mean, I think he would be a guy this year if they become sellers. He would be the bat, other than perhaps O'Neill, that would be on the market.
And I don't even like the idea of moving O'Neill.
Me neither. It's a 1 year deal, but still, I think he's
I think you
so
extend him.
far. Yeah. I'd be for that.
But like I said, that furthers the logjam where you might have to put Rafael in the infield, or you're going to move one of those guys in the outfield.
Yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting. I think a lot will be told over the rest of the season, and to see what Breslow's trying to do. It'll be very interesting to see
Yeah.
as when people come back. But
Well, that's all I had.
all right, no, I think the only thing I was going to mention when you were talking about the Tigers that's kind of surprised me is Jack Flaherty is 8 Ks per game right now, eight
Yeah.
Ks per start, which is good. I mean, I think that he's starting to turn the corner a little bit, and perhaps he could be one to watch second half of the season if he stays healthy for the Tigers to kind of round into form and kind of get back to his old self. He's definitely missing some bats. He's allowed 50 hits, but I mean, he's someone to watch out for because they've already got Skubal, like we've talked about, Reese Olson, Casey Mize. They've got the pitching, and once those bats actually start to heat up, I'll be
I think
very interested because those win
I think
totals will
he's
change.
gone. I think he's gone.
Really?
I think he's gone at the deadline. I think he's on a 1 year deal, and then the way they're
Yeah.
going right now, and this is the one thing I've said nonstop. If you read any of my down on the farms, even my roster moves, I mentioned it quite a few times. The Tigers are like one of the teams in baseball that are just loaded with arms,
Yeah.
loaded. Where Ty Madden, yeah, he struggled at AAA right now. And Jackson Jobe on at least on MLB, mine hasn't been updated. It will be, I think, on tomorrow's Down the Farm. I mentioned it will be coming up in the next week or two, where I'll have a brand new top 10 for them. But Jackson Jobe on MLB has jumped into the top 10 for prospects in all of baseball, and he's hurt right now, but he's looked good this year, and he's just up and coming.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more like Cater Montero, Wilmer Flores is more in a relief role right now, but that's think about that. That's the top 10 for them.
Yeah.
Those four arms I just named, there might be a fifth one that I'm completely blanking on, but they got nothing but arm. Oh, Sawyer Gibson Long's out for the year. That's another arm that's coming back next year. The whole thing with Casey Mize and Reese Olson getting the last two spots, and Olson's looking like he could be an ace of the future, just like
Yep.
Skubal, and he's just not getting the run support right now. But Matt Manning got forced out because they signed Flaherty and Maeda, and
Yep.
I was thinking about it the other day, and it's just this Tigers team needs a bat. So is a move for Flaherty for a bat a possibility with somebody? And that's something I might end up writing about in the next couple of days. We'll see what happens in his next start, which I think is coming up here soon. May actually be against Toronto in the first game. But Maeda's here on a 2 year deal. So if it was the other way around, you probably can't get Maeda traded for a bat, whereas Flaherty, with what he's doing, you could. and it's a great bounce back year for him, especially after he struggled last year in St. Louis and then got traded to Baltimore. And even when he got to the Orioles put him in a relief role after a couple
Yep.
starts. So I think it's something to me that it seems like he's going to be an arm that could be talked about at the deadline to get moved, whether the Tigers are in it or not. It could be something that's floated out there. Now, if they're in it, I say you hold them and keep them and try to make a run. But if somehow they stay where they're at right now and that Central's so crowded together, it's something that could be entertained.
So this is off topic and definitely not wasn't planned for us. But as we're talking, and we've mentioned their bullpen and the back end specifically being not desirable situation for them. Flaherty has given up more hits than I would like, but he's striking out batters and he's missing plenty of bats. And he's had injury issues in the past. Could he be someone in the future that could move to that ninth, eighth inning role?
I don't hate the idea of him being the closer because that's one issue they've got.
Yeah.
Although Foley's looked pretty good there, and
Yep.
took it away from Alex Lang, and there was talk of Shelby Miller, but he's got something going on that who knows what that's going to look like. But it's not a bad idea. Like I said, the only issue is you got Foley, and if Lang can figure his stuff out, he's electric too, or he can be.
Can be.
So it really, at the end of the day, it becomes what are you seeing in the next month and a half or so. Like I said, really at the end of the day, all this conversation should be happening in the middle of June. Where are you at, and what do you see your team looking like?
Yeah.
And then again, it's to me, it starts your observation of your team is the middle of June till the All-Star break, and then you have all that time to figure out, okay, who are we moving, and then you can dangle them out there, see what's available. And that's when you start to see the trades happen. Because I mean, realistically, the trade deadline has been quiet the last couple of years with, a little bit of moves here and there, but everything happens before the deadline.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to jump ahead and get as much value as they can.
Which the Padres did right away.
Yep. All right. No, I think my notes are going to be a little bit similar, and I think obviously there's a few things that we both would have wanted to talk about. So I've only got a few that we can talk about, but in the meantime, let's take a break and discuss, like we have so many other times. If you're a baseball fan, you're listening and you want to get involved, you want to cover a team, or you just want to be able to dabble in and write, whether it be roster moves or about the minor league team affiliates that you're maybe close to, or even just, cover a couple of teams and write different articles and just get your feet wet. Go to the website, insidethediamonds.com/join us, and reach out so CJ can give you an idea of what we're looking for, what the need is, see if it might be a fit for you, and just kind of connect and enjoy writing about a sport you love and maybe perhaps a team that you close to and pay attention to, or even just topics that you like. Maybe you're a minor league guy and you live in a town where there's a AA team or a AAA team or even single A, and you want to just kind of connect, write about it, go to the games a lot. Anything that you're looking to share with the baseball community, reach out to CJ. He'll let you know what our gaps are, what our format is, and kind of hook you up and see if it makes any sense for us to start dabbling into this as we continue to grow the website. So just go back to the website, insidethediamonds.com/join us, and reach out, or even comment in the YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast.
You can also email me. It's clavalley@insidethediamonds.com.
There you go. Perfect. So I think my first note is something that you and I have obviously been talking back and forth about. Paul Skenes, who was the number 2 ranked ITD prospect to start the year. Paul Skenes came up, made his first start in Pittsburgh against the Cubs. In that start, he started the game off by striking out Mike Tauchman off a foul tip, and then he completely owned Seiya Suzuki in his first start. Started him with a breaking ball on the outside, then came in, and finished him with I want to say it was a fastball right on the corner. He painted the corner on the second strike and third strike. He basically reverse pitched him, where he threw his strikeout pitch first, came inside. I think it was maybe either the split or whatever you were calling it, the
A splinker.
splinker, and he hit the inside corner, and then he just pasted another one on the outside corner fastball. Totally had him guessing the whole at bat. The first start, he didn't get the decision. He left the game after 5 innings when they were up 6-0, or they went in to a rain delay, tied 6-6. So he was wasn't going to be in the decision. The biggest thing I took away from that game for him was he didn't have the control of his fastball, and I was a little interested to see what he was going to do in game 2. Well, game 2 he came out and just kicked their ass. Struck out the first 7 batters he faced in Wrigley on the road, ended up with 11 strikeouts, and then ended up winning the game. And he got his first win.
He was perfect.
He was perfect. He was electric. I don't know if you saw the interview in regards to when someone asked him what he was going to do to make, like when the batters were going to make adjustments to him. And he just goes, I don't even know. Good. He said, "Good luck," something along those lines. Good luck, and just the confidence he has. I mean, he's been doing this in AAA. He did it in his college career. The Pirates do need a bat. I don't think they'll pinch hit with him, but he can hit the ball too. He did that in college. He can hit too. So he's an athlete. So when looking at this, Jared Jones pitched the game before. And Jared Jones has been lights out too. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking right now, is there a better young duo in the major leagues than these two currently, the way they're pitching?
No. I think the future is very bright in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And I mentioned this last week with somebody that I really like watching pitchers, Tanner Houck.
Yep.
Where I mentioned his numbers, and I said along the lines of, so far this year, he has his best starts in his first appearance against a team. Now that changed against the Rays, where he had his worst start against them and looked better tonight, obviously. So my question was with Skenes, it's really tough. Your first 2 starts, you're going against the same team.
Yeah.
So how do you, in your first 2 starts, how do you adjust to a lineup you just saw 5 days before? And he came out and he adjusted. The thing I didn't like was his first start, and I don't know if I said it to you, I said it to somebody, but I didn't like how, obviously in the minors he went probably averaged 3 2/3 or 4 1/3. Like he felt like he never went 5 innings. But he got into trouble early on. Maybe it was the second, and he had the bases loaded, or second and third, or first and second, whatever. And they let him get out of it, which good. That's the second inning of his big league debut. Let him figure it out. In the 5th inning, when they took him out, wasn't it? It was 1 or 2 outs. I didn't like the fact that I don't even think was it bases loaded, but I thought it wasn't bases loaded. It might have been, but they didn't let him finish it. Let him finish it. You had the lead. It was 6-2 at the time. You ended up.
He was at like 89 pitches, I think, too, if I could be mistaken.
And the guy just threw 116 all last season, pretty much every start in college. Let him finish it, and worst case scenario, it's 6-6, which is what it ended up being anyways after you took him out.
Yeah.
So let him finish it, see what happens, and then you're in line. Maybe he's in line for a win in his first start. That's what everybody wants to see. Is everybody's tuning in for him? I get you got to win a baseball game. I understand that, but let him try to see if he can get out of it. So that's your future right there. So you got to figure out if he can get you out of jams when you need him to.
Yeah. So it was very interesting that, because I agree, he only pitched 4 innings in that first start because they pulled him when they got 2 guys on, and he was only sitting at 84 pitches, 54 of strikes, but they were hitting 353 against him that game. Cubs were. So, but then the second game he throws 100. And the average dipped down to 171 with he had a 9.90 whip in that game, but he was electric that game. And I think it was part of me was thinking in regards to, was he, because he like you had mentioned in the minors, he didn't pitch for shit in regards to they didn't want to waste him.
Right.
But was he? Did he have a chip on his shoulder in game 2 because he felt like they didn't trust him to get out of that? So he
Right.
never put himself in that situation. So these two guys in the last 15 days, Skenes is 1-0 in 2 starts with 10 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, only giving up 1 home run, 3 walks, 1 hit batter, 18 strikeouts with a 2.70 ERA and a .90 WHIP. Jared Jones has started 2 games going 1-1 with a 3.75 ERA, 12 innings, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts with a 1.33 WHIP. There's a guy, Mitch Keller, who's in the middle of it all, who got his new contract this year, 3-0, 1.29 ERA over the last 15 days and 3 starts, one of which was a complete game. He's thrown 21 innings, 15 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 home run, 6 free passes with 2 of them being by means of hit by pitch and 15 strikeouts. And he also has a .90 whip. So as good as Jared Jones and Paul Skenes have been, Mitch Keller, the veteran of the group, has done just as well. And this Pittsburgh team, if they can start giving the run support to Jared Jones, which he has lacked, this team, give him a bat here. I really think they need a first baseman, a right-handed bat or a switch hitting bat at first. I'm not a Rowdy Talese guy, but they have some guys. They're scrappy, and Jack Sawinski, hit one out the other day, so maybe he's starting to heat up. But this team, I like watching the Pirates play. They're scrappy, and I like their pitching staff.
You know who's also turning it on is O'Neal Cruz.
So if you didn't know baseball and you just knew Cruz was the last name and you watched O'Neal Cruz run and swing the bat and make contact and Ellie De La Cruz hit, swing, and run, would you be able to tell the difference?
No, they look very. I thought the same thing watching De La Cruz last season.
Yeah.
I thought that's the same player it reminded me of. I'm happy to see him back hitting the ball. I mean, he got off to a little bit of a slow start. I agree with you. The Pirates are now. I mean, bright future, great future, and they got a couple prospects that I like coming up. But all of a sudden, to me, they become a team now that they're still in the National League Central race. Skenes is up. They got their big 3 right now with like you said, Keller, Jones, and Skenes. Lineup starts hitting. They're a team that could be a lot of fun to watch as the weather gets warmer.
Yep, they are an interesting team to watch, and I'm here for it. I just love. I think I said it in another podcast. The Pirates having a good team is good for baseball. It makes that NL Central that much more fun to watch, and having the pitching that they have, to me, they've had pitching before, but it's only been one, and the team's been horrible, so they get moved. I think you hold on to these 3, and if you're going to move someone, move one of these 1-year deals to try to see if you can get a bat and make a run for this, and see if you can't get some playoff experience with these young guys, so that as you keep getting some of these prospects up, you've got that experience and you just build off it. And I'm really impressed with Jared Jones, obviously Paul Skenes, and Mitch Keller is just finally getting some run support, and he's not the only guy anymore. You know what I mean? They don't need him to be the savior. They've got these 2 other arms that can just jump in and shut another team's down and face an ace and hold their own. So the Pirates are going to be fun to watch the rest of the way. And I think we'll probably be talking about Paul Skenes, Jared Jones, and the rest of this Pirates team quite a bit as we move forward. The other one, when I was looking over and just kind of picking up, in the last 15 days, actually even better than that, the last 7 days, let's break it down the last 7 days. The San Francisco Giants called up Luis Matos to play in the outfield. He's played in 5 games. In 22 at bats, he has only 2 runs scored, but he has 9 hits, 3 of which are doubles, 1 home run, and 13 RBIs. He's hitting .409 with a .409 OPB, slugging .682, and an OPS of 1.091. I know they've got Yastrzemski playing right. They still have Soler. They have what's his name there, and who's the other outfielder for crying out loud that they had? I
It
can't think of
was
his
Lee.
name.
He's done for the year.
Yeah, Lee's done for the year. Conforto, Michael Conforto, who's been hitting the ball well as also, but Matos coming up and playing, and whether he takes that job and fills the role of Jung Ho Lee, I'll be interested to watch this kid. I was one of my best friends is a Giants fan, and I think it was Mother's Day, perhaps. I was watching the Reds Giants game, and I just like watching the San Francisco Giants play. I'm not a fan of their team, perhaps, and but I like watching what they do. I like their bullpen. They have depth pieces. They may not have the superstars like they did in the late '90s, early 2000s, but I'll be watching this kid and to see what he does and see if he can carries it on, because right now he's got, the next highest RBI total is from Ramos, and he's got 8. So he's been leading the way, doubling up, and he's hitting the ball well. So I'll be very interested to see what he does this coming weekend. So Luis Matos is one to watch. The other guy that has gotten red hot for Boston is Devers, who hit his 6th home run in his 6th game, but he only has 9 RBIs. And this kind of goes to previously what we were discussing in regards to Duran and even Ellie De La Cruz. They're just not getting enough people on in front of him so that these home runs are devastating. They're devastating in a manner where it's one, maybe a 2-run shot. But you get 2 guys on, he's hitting 3-run bombs. That changes the course of a game real quick.
Yep.
And Devers is just one of these guys that when he gets hot, he's red hot. Doesn't matter if it's a left-hand pitcher or right-hand pitcher. He's going to take it to left field. He's going to hit it to dead center. Or he's going to take it to deep right. He uses that ballpark amazing.
That ball was crushed tonight. Oppo.
Oh, yeah. Oh. He's just an amazing hitter, and he's one of the funnest players to watch when he gets red hot because he loves the game too. That's the other thing. He loves playing the game. He's got that big energy, and like I said, with Trevor Story not being there, it stinks not being able to see more guys get on base ahead of him to see him do more damage. But
it's the story of the whole Red Sox season. Tyler O'Neill, I mean, think about it. He's got 11 home runs, 17 RBIs.
17 RBIs. Like, such an awkward number, which is too bad because they do have the power. It's just that it comes at the times when they need the home run, but they don't have anyone on there. So
the question I have, though, is so over the last 2 games, yesterday and today, they've scored. What was yesterday's score?
11-3.
So they got 16 runs in the last 2 games. Is the offense waking up? And Cutter Crawford said it last week or 2 weeks ago. He made a start, and I think he actually got shut out. Where he's been part of the culprit, him and Houck, where they pitched well, but the team just doesn't score when they pitch.
Yeah,
and he even said it after one of his starts, and it might have been, I forget what start it was, but I think they got shut out, and he ended up giving up like 2 runs, and they just lost.
Yeah.
But he said the offense wasn't going, and when we do, we're a good team. And it was fun to see the other night. Duran scored, and they tied it at 2s, and then obviously in the 9th or 8th inning, things got away from them after they tied it. But now the question becomes: is this offense waking up, and are the Red Sox potentially going to be a problem? I mean, I'm not going to get my head myself. It's 2 games. See what happens the rest of the series against the Rays, and they get the Brewers this weekend. Again, now I might have just jinxed them. So,
hey, you never know. The Brewers are a team that I think is beatable. I think their pitching has been good, but I'm trying to think if we miss Peralta. I can't remember. But either way, he's a guy that if you just are patient and don't swing at the stuff, his breaking ball that just starts in the middle of the zone and dips out, if you can be patient with him and get him out of there in the 5th, 6th inning, you can have a chance. And sometimes that slider will stay up, and O'Neill will take advantage, as will Devers. So It'll be a very interesting series to watch. Um, and I hope to see Devers continue his hot streak and maybe perhaps, this weekend see a few more runners on base when he does.
Yeah.
My next note, and I have been kind of holding back on this, but holy shit, Shota Imanaga might be the best pitcher in baseball right now. He started 9 games. He's 5-0. His ERA is .84 in 53.2 innings. He's only given up 40 hits, 5 earned runs. Of those 5 earned runs, 3 home runs in that mix. He's walked 9 batters in 53 innings, and he's struck out 58. His whip is .91. Opponents are hitting 200 against him. Again, we've had a conversation in regards to what happens in Chicago when it starts to get muggy and humid in the summer. How's his ball going to play there when he's trying to beat the top of the zone? But this guy, I was trying to think about it in regards to if I've seen a pitcher have, coming from overseas, have this much fun with it. He has got a lot of personality. He, in one of his press conferences, said that he was changing his ringtone to the crowd of Wrigley because he likes it so much. And seeing him in the dugout when he's not pitching and standing there with Seiya Suzuki, and right now, Javier Assad has pitched really well for the Cubs as well, filling in these gaps. Justin Steele is by proxy their ace, because of what he did last year. Steele's only pitched in 4 games. His ERA is 5.21 in 19 innings. He's got 18 strikeouts, 5 walks, a whip of 1.21. I think Shota's the ace of this team. And he's the number 3 in the rotation right now, but he's pitching like an ace, and he is of the 2 high-priced Japanese pitchers coming from overseas this year. I think right now, yes, Yamamoto showed signs, but Shota's looked great from start 1 to start 9. And he is so much fun to watch. And if you haven't been able to see him start a game, try to dial in, or if you've got MLB, watch a condensed game. He is a lot of fun to watch pitch, and he's kind of quirky on the mound. He does some different things with his motion and the way he'll stare in at the ump trying to get a call. Not disrespectful, not showing him up, but he'll just wait, and then he'll smile and turn around. He's having fun with the game. And for me, that's even that much more reason to root for a guy like that. He doesn't take it too serious. He's out there for the fans. He just loves it. And I didn't really know what they were going to do this offseason. There was rumors about Ohtani, this, that, and the next thing. There's rumors about Snell and Montgomery. And I didn't really know much about Shota. And then I started paying attention a little bit more, watched him in spring training, and how he was shocked that they wanted him to pitch up in the zone. And we talked about this, where the Japanese hitters generally are more a level swing. They're not playing the launch angle game. And he is eating it up right now for the Cubs. And like I said, if you haven't got a chance to see him pitch, I highly recommend it because he's a good one. And I think he is going to be the ace of this team, with Justin Steele or not. And even if Justin Steele comes back and pitches the way he did last year, I still think Shota is right now the guy for this team. And the Cubs will go as far as he can continue to go, I think, in my opinion.
Like I said, I want to see what happens when the weather gets warm. And I just looked it up. I don't know if he's going to pitch this series because it's too far away to even figure it out. When they face the Phillies in July, 4th of July weekend, if he pitches that series, to me, that's the decision right there. Because, what they have coming forward, could he struggle? Maybe. But the lineups that I've seen, what they're going to have coming up, I'm not overly concerned with. And again, that could change. But I mean, that Philly series, that's the best team in baseball right now,
Yep.
or at least the best team, I think, in the National League. Um, Facing them, if he gets one of those starts, that's the test for me. If he comes out of, I mean, granted, that's a month and a half away,
Yeah.
so things could change by then. But if he's doing what he's doing right now, and we're talking it's Fourth of July weekend, and he's pitching Game 2, let's see what happens. And
Yep.
he comes out of there lights out. He's might be the best pitcher in the National League or up in the top 5.
So that is a good segue. I want to talk about a guy in Boston, but I'll go down and talk about Aaron Nola first. Aaron Nola kind of had a few down years where he wasn't horrible, just wasn't the guy he was from previous years. Right now, in the last 15 days, Aaron Nola's made 3 starts. He's 2-1 with a 2.49 ERA, 1 complete game shutout, 21.2 innings, 15 hits allowed, 6 earned runs, 2 on home runs, only walked 3, but struck out 20. Zach Wheeler, who is the strikeout pitcher on that roster, has 19 in 3 starts, but only in 18.1 innings. So with a whip of .83 and opponents hitting 190 off him, this is a guy that if can continue this route and continue to pitch the way he's been pitching for the Phillies with Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez pitching the way they have been, they're an extremely deep team,
And
especially in
who
who
saw
saw him
Ranger
coming.
Suarez? I mean, 8-0 and 9 starts.
What was it? It wasn't last year because he was injured. So it was the year before where he kind of came on second half of the year and showed signs that
The
he,
World
because
Series
he doesn't
year.
throw overly. Yeah, the World Series year. He doesn't throw overly hard, but he misses bats. He is a bulldog, I guess is another way. He battles. He's 2-0 in the last 15 days without giving up an earned run
Mm-hmm.
in 2 starts. He's pitched 12 innings, so he's going at least over 5, 6 innings a game, which is what they need. 7 hits, only 2 runs scored, none earned, 1 hit by pitch, 4 walks, and 12 strikeouts. And they're hitting. He's got a 0.92 WHIP and a 1.63 average from the opponents. This pitching staff is deep, but Aaron Nola being that guy who's slotted in after Zach Wheeler, and Zach Wheeler being their big money extension this off season is the guy that they look for the future. But Aaron Nola pitching the way he has been, along with, like you mentioned, Ranger Suarez, is a guy that kind of gets overlooked because of Ranger Suarez's success so far this year. Zach Wheeler signing the new contract and pitching well. Aaron Nola, if he can keep this up, that's a pretty good 1-2-3 right there.
That's your player rotation.
Yeah. And
So
even, I mean, even Walker. Juan Walker's hasn't pitched horrible. He's not lighting the world on fire, but this Phillies team
Chris Sanchez
is deep.
It's another one.
Yeah.
Chris Sanchez, another one. Not pitching bad either.
Yeah.
They got
They're a deep team.
Yeah. And they got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah.
People don't talk about the prospects they have coming. Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, and they even have bats, Justin Crawford, son of Kyle Crawford.
Yep.
And Aiden Miller, future third baseman. They're gonna have some issues coming up when those guys are all ready, what they're gonna do, but
decisions. Oh yeah.
So
decisions.
They're deep. They're very deep. And they got a lot of players coming.
So the other guy that I mentioned from the Red Sox is Nick Pivetta. You and I talked briefly before jumping on in regards to being able to keep him afterwards. When he's healthy, he's a strikeout machine. He's pitched 15.2 innings in the last 15, struck out 17, only 1 walk.
Mm-hmm.
His ERA, though, is 4.60, 8 earned runs, 6 of those were home runs. He gave up 6 home runs out of the 12 hits he gave up, half were home runs, which inflates his ERA, obviously. But with a whip of .83, if he can eliminate, half those home runs, his ERA most likely will drop down somewhere in the 3 range, if not lower,
So about
depending
that
on the
though,
results.
how much of that do we equate to him coming back and getting accustomed again? Because if you think about it, his first two starts before the injured list stint, he was the culprit of a 1-0 win and a 1-0 loss.
Yep.
So I don't have it in front of me. Did he give up a home run to the Cardinals? I think he gave up one. I think it was that
Hang on,
bomb to
I'm
right
pulling up
field in
his
the fourth
yeah,
inning.
I'm pulling up his game
I think
logs right now.
I
So,
think that was the only one.
as you mentioned before the injury, on March 29th, he pitched against Seattle, gave up 1 earned run, pitched 6 innings, 3 hits, struck out 10. Then he faced Oakland, got the win, gave
Shutout.
up no runs, 1 walk, only 3 strikeouts. And then he came back. He missed the rest of April after the April 3rd start. In May, he faced Atlanta, gave up 5 earned runs, 3 home runs right there,
Atlanta.
and only struck out 1. The next 2 starts, one against Tampa Bay and one against St. Louis. He won the game against St. Louis. Wasn't factored into the decision against Tampa. In the Tampa game, he pitched 5.2 innings, struck out 8, no walks, but he did give up 2 home runs. St. Louis, he gave up 1 home run. That was it was a solo shot, but he did strike out 8. And he only pitched 81 pitches against Tampa, 61 for strikes. And against St. Louis, only 72 pitches in those 6 innings. He was very efficient, 51 for strikes.
No
So,
comment on that one.
yeah.
He should have gone
Yeah.
further in that game.
Yeah, I agree. So they're obviously easing him back, but he's a guy when he's on, and I do agree that's a tough start coming off the injured list to face Atlanta and that lineup. Obviously, giving up 5 home runs is not ideal, but he's obviously he wasn't. Yeah, he's given up a total of 9 home runs in 5 starts. So, and I would like to think that would improve over the year, but striking out 16 in his last 2 and only 11.2 innings. He's he's a guy for me. Hopefully they get situated and into this race so he's not an arm that gets moved. Um, but he's a guy for me. I just like watch pitching, and I hope he's another one to root for because he
He looks better
battles.
this year. He looks a lot better
Yes,
this year. And you can say the name. Why does he look better this year?
Andrew Bailey.
Now,
CJ's right. Andrew Bailey is the second coming of the
I was going to
next
mention
best
it when
thing
you
for
mentioned
pitching.
Matos. Is the Giants I like, but their pitching is not as good this year. Why is
It's
that?
not. It's
Andrew Bailey's
not. It's
gone.
Andrew Bailey, which is the Andrew Bailey effect. You
Now,
were the guy that
before
brought it up.
we talked about, before we hopped on, I just got this breaking news on my phone, so I figured we're talking about Pivetta. We might as well bring it up. We talked about, I think I said to you right before we hopped on, that Pivetta could be a guy that enjoyed the last year of him out in the East coming back.
Yeah.
I think you have to bring him back now, even with Giolito being back next year. Breaking news: Garrett Whitlock
Yeah.
has ligament damage in his elbow, and surgery is a real possibility. So, yeah, for those of you that don't know, if you're not a Red Sox fan, he actually was pitching well as a starter this year.
Yeah.
Went down with an oblique injury, made a rehab start in Portland, I believe. It might have been Worcester. It was either Portland or Worcester. Didn't pitch bad. I think he went 5 2/3, or at least 5. And all of a sudden, he was getting set. They were going to go to a 6-man rotation with the way Cooper Criswell's been pitching to just, give Houck and Crawford especially more time to rest and get them situated so we don't deal with an injury with them. But he ended up not being able to make that start. It was Bayo on Sunday against the Cardinals. And Whitlock was flown back to Boston for further evaluation on his elbow. And the news has come out today that there is a possibility of surgery. So, with that being said, I liked him pitching as a starter. I think it's time we end that conversation. And we've had this conversation before the season started that Kenley is likely to get moved to the deadline. It's clearly obvious he doesn't really want to be here.
Disengaged big time.
Chris Martin is getting up there in age where he's been good. He's had his hiccups, but he might be an arm that is here for the rest of this year. I forget how long his contract is. We could talk about the potential of a Slayton Whitlock back into the bullpen, and we also have Liam Hendricks coming back in August. So
Yeah,
that
that
creates
I'm very interested to see him come back.
that creates a potential for a three-headed monster at the back end of that bullpen. Even if you keep Martin this year, that gives you four solid arms. That if you can make the playoffs, that's good arms in the future. Obviously, I think Whitlock, it sounds like, is going to be done for the year.
Yeah,
I'm sure, based on what they did with Yoshida, I'm sure there's a second opinion coming. I'm sure they're going to look more into this, but he had an elbow injury last year, and
yeah,
that's all coming from him as a starter. So I think it's time we got to stop with the starter conversation, have him be a reliever,
yeah,
and let's go into next year with a rotation of, if you want to go sign a guy, fine. But let's plan for the rotation next year of Bayo, Pavetta, Houck, Crawford, and Giolito. And I'm okay with that. From what I've seen from Andrew Bailey, and I've hyped up Andrew Bailey to no end, what I've seen from him, I'm okay with that rotation.
yeah.
So, but that's
Especially the way Criswell's pitched. You
Criswell's
can
another one.
always, you can always, if Giolito is a guy that doesn't pan out and doesn't come back and doesn't show any promise, you've still
And
got him in the mix.
there's a name in Double A that I actually like. He's been hot. I think he was actually just named Eastern League Player of the Week, Zach Penrod.
Yep.
I'd like to see him moved up to AAA hopefully soon, and maybe he could be somebody next year you're talking as a potential long reliever, maybe even a starter if something goes
Yep.
wrong. But it's an arm to watch. I also talked about it on Down the Farm. I've talked about it for a couple weeks now. I think he had a bad start last week. I like Luis Perales. It's another name to watch, but he's down in High A Greenville. So you're talking probably 2 more years before you really see him start to make a name and see what he can do. Because obviously, like I said for Ty Madden earlier, he's struggling at AAA. Jack Leiter's another example. He's struggled since he got called up, and he was a
Yep.
big name prospect after he got drafted. So there's these guys that look fantastic, and they're down the lower levels. They get called up to a couple higher levels, and they don't look great. But there's arms, and clearly, like I've said, Andrew Bailey seems to know what he's doing. So let's
Yeah.
trust him. Um, but it's tough news for Whitlock, and
Yeah.
you don't like that.
That's too bad. Too
So
bad.
sorry to interrupt you. I just had that breaking
No,
news.
no, no. That was
Oh,
that's Impact news, and it played well with the Pavetta. The last player that kind of has caught my eye is a pitcher from the Angels, Jose Siriano. Last 15 days, 3 starts, 1-0, 2.55 ERA in 17 innings. He's given up 5 earned runs, 1 home run, walked 7, struck out 17 with a whip of 1.13. Opponents are hitting 200 against him on a team that really has not a lot going for him. And that was something I actually snuck up upon that when I was doing an article in regards to, I was actually looking up Taylor Ward's information. I looked at their pitching to see if there was anything there for the Reds, for the bullpen, and it just stuck out to me. So I want to shout out to him, someone that I'm going to just pay attention to because I don't know a lot about him. So I want to watch his next start and see how that goes for him because he's the lone bright spot right now for that. Other than Tyler Anderson and Sandoval, who have been so. But Soriano is a guy that I'm interested in watching and see what he can't become for the Angels in a team that pretty much destined for last place at this point right now, or in a battle with the Oakland Athletics
yep.
or Sacramento Athletics, whatever one you want to talk about. The last thing that really, in terms of notes for me, was I caught John Heyman breaking down kind of some trades and some different ideas, and he brought up the blowing up of the Toronto Blue Jays roster. And this for me is kind of more of a discussion with you to see your thoughts on it. And we did touch upon it before we jumped on. Again, I did an article for the Reds and how they could kickstart their offense. And I did include Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who might be a guy that needs a change of scenery. Now, I don't think they blow it up completely. Me personally, I could see a piece or two move to try to just kickstart some things. They have some pitching starting to improve, but it's the offense that has been a little lacking. So I want to get your thoughts in regards to the news John Heyman, or the idea John Heyman brought up about blowing up this Blue Jays roster.
So, and I mentioned it when I talked a little bit earlier about their pitching. Ricky
Yep.
Tiedemann and Alek Manoah, which I think opens the door that you could see Manoah as an arm that gets moved.
Yep.
Gosman or Barrios. Justin Turner's another one. I've heard rumors of him to many different places. But realistically, I think that team, they had the big three come up with Biggio, Guerrero, and Bichette.
Yep.
Things didn't pan out, and now the conversation became, what do you do going forward? And it's tough because I mentioned it with you. I mentioned it, I think, last week or whatever, but I like Aurelvis Martinez. I think he's a good piece to come up and could play that middle infield. And I think Biggio is a guy that you could see get moved because he can play any position you need him to, except for pretty much catcher and first base. But this team, they're in a series right now where I think they won today, that if they can find a way to sweep, the conversation could change. But they went out and got Springer from the Astros. They signed him. And he hasn't looked right since he got there.
No.
He just looks old, and I get it. And the reason why he left Houston was, the whole cheating scandal in 2017. He wanted to create a new name for himself, same as Correa, and show that it wasn't the cheating that made them the player they are.
Yep.
And in a way, I feel like maybe it is age, but at the same time, maybe it was the cheating that made Springer the player he was. Because
he has moments.
He absolutely does. It's just he just hasn't looked like he did in Houston. I mean, he was clutch that whole 2017 run, and that makes you wonder.
He was healthy,
right? And they also, you got to remember, they let Kiermaier walk. Kiermaier's not a bad. Or no, sorry, they got Kiermaier.
Yeah,
and Kiermaier's not a bad. He's a great glove, but they make interesting signings. Like
strange
IKF
signings
didn't make sense. Justin Turner made sense. They needed a bat to play the corner infield. I don't know why they didn't bring back Matt Chapman, but bringing Turner in made sense. He produced last year, and so that adding that bat to your lineup it makes sense. He's the only one though right now that's really seems. Vladdy's gotten hot. I mean, Vladdy leads the team in RBIs, and I believe he has one of the best batting averages on the team.
He only has 4 home runs. That's the sneaky thing to me.
Dalton Varsho leads the team in home runs.
Yeah.
But their pitching hasn't been bad. I mean, think about it. Jose Barrios, I just saw it tonight. He got the start, and he leads the league in quality starts.
Yeah.
So, but is that an arm you want to trade, or is that an arm that you build as an ace and you bring up Tiedemann?
Well, that's what they wanted him to be, and he hasn't been until this year.
Right. So I don't know if you move him now. I think that goes back to the Gausman hasn't looked the same.
No.
He was, granted, I wanted the Red Sox to sign him so bad when he was a free agent.
Yep.
But now he doesn't look right. Manoah coming back to form. However, I do want to see Manoah face the Yankees, and I want to see that Verdugo rivalry just steam right up. I don't know.
They could get hot. They're a team with Bichette and Vladdy and Springer. If 2 of those 3 warm up at the same time, it's different. I mean, you talked about Barrios and having the most quality starts. What if he gets run support? Now what are we talking about for him?
He did tonight.
Yeah, tonight he did
8 or 9 runs tonight.
Yeah.
So I said, and that's a team I said the other day. I don't know if I said it last week, but I said I gave 4 teams that I was completely wrong about. That's a team so far to this point that I was completely wrong about. I had them finishing second. I mean,
that's still not far-fetched, though. Again, if they don't make moves, or if they do make some minor moves, they can still get hot, and they do have some pieces, like you mentioned, down the minors that could potentially contribute. So that was an interesting one. I think it's too early to tell right now. I do think that if it continued down this path and the way the season's going, I think there will be some pieces moved. Which ones? All depends.
I hate to put it on one guy and one guy only, and I mentioned him before. I actually mentioned him when I did my thoughts. If Alek Manoah really is back,
Yeah.
could that save their season? Because before the injury, Yariel Rodriguez looked good too. So you keep
Yeah.
him, he comes back healthy, and you have him, Manoah, Barrios, Bassett, Kikuchi. Kikuchi even looks good,
Yeah.
and Gausman. That's six guys. That gives you a chance to potentially look into moving somebody because they want Tiedemann up soon, and he comes
Yeah.
back. I believe the earliest I saw was maybe June he comes back. So that gives you the chance to move somebody early and get a
And to,
sell like a sell high. So like if Manoa is pitching at what he is he the guy? I mean, really, his whole thing, he could be the one that saves their season. Whether it's he pitches like he is and he brings them right back, or he pitches like he is and he's the arm they move to bring in a piece that makes them better and gets them there.
because
Like
he's
he's
young enough to still have an impact and draw.
right. So that's why I say, like, do you put the Blue Jays season on one player like that? Because the lineup's there, and you know Vladdy can get going. You know
Yeah.
Bichette can get going. Bichette was mentioned at the offseason about being traded to the
Yeah.
Dodgers, or I heard the Cubs at one point.
Yeah. Which made
So
zero sense to me, but
there is that possibility. Uh-oh. That's not Taylor Ward, is it? No. Taylor
oh
Ward's on my.
god.
It says Taylor Ward on my screen, but there's an Angels player down at second base, and it doesn't look like Taylor
Ugh.
Ward.
I hope not. Jesus. I just mentioned him in a trade potentially to the Reds to
It's not
again another
Taylor Ward.
guy. Okay.
It's not Taylor Ward. He's up. He's up right now.
Okay.
It's who is that? Rengifo?
Oh, Luis Rengifo.
Yeah. Looks like
Okay,
he's playing on second base.
so before we take our next little break and get into matchups and prospects, I want a yes or no. Will Trevor Bauer pitch this year in the major leagues?
No.
I think the longer it goes, the longer that is the correct answer. He was bragging today. I saw a tweet from him about how he was striking out and defeating the home run champion, Voit. Like, geez, big
The
deal. You
best,
can strike out Lucas Voit.
the best two tweets I've seen from him as of late. I had one in my head and I just lost it. So maybe I'll go with the one tweet. He is the only pitcher in the history of baseball to be an all-star in the MLB, the Japanese League, and the Mexican League.
There's no doubt the talent's there, but there's something that the rest of the GMs and owners know,
I think
have
it's
been told.
higher up. Higher up.
You really think so?
Higher up. Higher up. I don't know if you saw that tweet. You replied to somebody's tweet.
Yeah.
And he said something about how the GMs want him, the coaches want him, the players want him, everybody wants him.
Yes,
Higher
that's
up.
one we were talking about. So what do they know? He hasn't been charged with anything.
I think it's the sponsors to Manfred saying we don't want the backlash of bringing him back. That's my personal opinion. I think it's the sponsors coming and saying we don't want to deal with this, or it's Manfred.
Yeah.
It could be that too. It could be Manfred saying I don't want to deal with this. I mean, let's be serious. The guy, nobody will ever forget Terry Francona coming out trying to take the ball from him in Cleveland, and he turned around. It was not in Cleveland. He was playing for Cleveland. They were at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and he turned around and threw the ball over the center field wall.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is an asshole, but is he fun to watch? Absolutely. Is he a good pitcher? Absolutely. Could he still be a top pitcher in the game in Major League Baseball? Absolutely. But what happened has punished him. And I've seen so many tweets with people coming out and saying, well, something happened, nobody's talking about it, and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that because it's all he said, she said. And nobody knows the truth. And, all we can say is we know the truth of what happened on the other stuff. And the girl that he claimed she comes back all the time with him and his agent. It's just they go back and forth on Twitter all the time, and who knows?
Not a good look. So I
yeah.
mean, not a good look because we were talking about someone earlier who's been suspended, but you didn't hear a peep from him when he was suspended. He was convicted, was charged with what he did, but there was nothing said. He served his time, came
He went to
back.
all the classes he needed to go to,
Yep.
and he did what he had to do and came back. And it's just, but I think that's part of the problem is I think Bauer has been blackballed, and that's why you hear so much from him.
Yeah,
But
and he
it's
doesn't
weird that
shut his
the
mouth
girl,
either, though.
it's weird the girl has said a lot more. Like she
Hmm.
still keeps going. That's where I have some issues. I mean, I don't like I said, it's all he said, she said. We'll never know the whole story.
Yeah.
Baseball might know, and that's part of the reason. I don't know, but it's an interesting situation because I would love to see him in any team. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many teams. I thought that the tweet that I found was interesting. It said, "I'm better than any of the top three on any team." And I went through and I was like, "Well, you're not better than the whole Mariners starting rotation."
Nope.
Um, right now, I would take four guys on Baltimore. That's not you're not better than.
Yep.
And the Red Sox had the best ERA at the time, starting wise. I wouldn't take you over the four that I expect.
Yep.
I would still gladly take him as a Red Sox. Don't take that any different
Yeah.
way. But that's the thing he said, and I just went through and I'm like, that's not true.
Well,
I
look
would
at the
glad,
competition he's facing right now, too.
right.
That was the other thing. So that was just something that you and I touched upon briefly, and I agree that I thought that maybe after April, maybe with some of the injuries that we saw, that maybe someone would reach out. But if no
The
one
Braves are
has
the one.
now,
The Braves are the one I'm
yeah,
interested. I'm a little surprised on that one, but that's where we're at. I think is it's just
it could get interesting to see what happens, because if someone gets desperate enough, come late July, early August, because he's a free agent. You know what I mean? He can be signed at any point in time.
and he costs nothing. The
Yeah.
league minimum with incentives. What do you have to lose? That's where I scratch my head. That's where it tells me it's higher up. It's not
Oh yeah.
GM. It's
Yeah.
not
No, you're
owner.
you're right.
Or
Yeah.
it's owners, but it's who's saying it to the owners.
Yeah. Who's telling him? What's the fine? What's going to happen if you do this? So, all right. Before we get into the key matchups and the prospects, I want to just touch again on anyone that's listening, anyone that reads the articles on the site, visits the site, fan on any social. If you're interested in joining us and kind of teaming up and writing about baseball, whether it be the major leagues, minor leagues, or even any specific topics, go to the website insidethediamonds.com/join us/ and reach out, or you can email CJ at cjlavalley@insidethediamonds.com and reach out. Let us know what you're thinking or what your questions are, and we can get you any of the details you're looking at to see if this might be a good fit for you. We have plenty of teams that are still looking for some coverage, and we have some topics that need to be covered, and any kind of support would be good for growing the website and growing awareness that what we're trying to do here at Inside the Diamonds. So if you're interested, go to the website insidethediamonds.com/join us and let us know what you're thinking or any of the questions you may have. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can just write into where you're listening any questions, and we can get you the answers you need so that you can join part of our team, hopefully here at Inside the Diamonds. We've got a good group of writers and some editors. So if you're interested, reach out so that we can get you some details so you can see how you can come and join us. All right, CJ, what matchups are you looking for?
I actually kept it light this week because I wasn't really impressed with this week's slate. Um, the first one I want to talk about, which isn't looking good right now, is I want to talk about the Tigers and the Royals. I thought this was the series for the test for the Tigers, where if you can beat the Royals in 3 games, then you're back in the race.
Yep.
But day 3 Royals right now, and granted they're gonna have Skubal in the finale, so I think that looks good for them. If they can steal one of the other ones, I think we're looking okay. But right now, 8-3. Ugh.
Yeah.
The one thing I did find when I was doing the preview for the series was Salvador Perez leads all the offensive categories for the Royals.
He just doesn't quit.
It's wild, and I think
Yep.
Bobby Witt's the real deal too. Like this team could be a problem.
Yep.
I thought they were gonna be good.
Lugo has been unreal.
Lugo's a problem. But Welker looked good tonight too.
Yeah.
Although it was interesting. I don't know what's going on with him. He was doing some weird stretches in the dugout in between innings, like holding his hand up his arm and stretching his elbow and his shoulder. So I don't know. I mean, granted, I could be overlooking that as a Tigers fan, thinking something's going on there, but he looked good though. Another one, and the only one I have for this week before I get to the weekend, is Rangers Phillies,
Yep.
where I like the fact you're going to see Wheeler, um, and you're going to see Ranger Suarez. I believe Ranger Suarez has the first game. Wheeler has the finale, or maybe it's Chris Sanchez I have in the first game. But you're going to see Wheeler in the series, that's for sure.
Yep.
And I said it last week. I know you weren't here. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but I mentioned the Rangers are an exciting team. You know, they're right there in the race for the AL West, and they're going to get DeGrom and Scherzer back. So going up against the Phillies team without those two guys, not great. But if you can, if they can find a way to take 2 out of 3 from the Phillies, that's a good look. But the Phillies are a lot of fun to watch right now. So
Yeah.
if you got anything you want to watch, like if there's a team you want to watch, the Phillies are must-see baseball right now. This weekend, not thrilled by the slate. I was going to say Red Sox Brewers was one of them, but the Red Sox had looked bad against the Cardinals, so I wasn't thrilled about it. They've looked good over the last 2. So that's a test. I will mention it because I'm interested to see can the Red Sox, go against a team that's leading a division and come out hot again, whereas they came out, cold against the Cardinals team that's in last place in their division.
Yep.
The other one is the Cardinals and the Cubs
Yep.
because it's rivalry weekend.
Yep.
And it's as bad as the Cardinals are and as good as the Cubs have been, it just seems like whenever there's a rivalry, the bad team always gets pumped up for their chance. So, and the Cardinals are up 5-3 on the Orioles right now. So I'm going to
Yep.
even more back that up because the Cardinals could be turning the ship around right here, taking 2 or 3 from the Red Sox. And now all of a sudden you're up 5-3 on the Orioles. And they have pitching.
Yep.
So, I mean, Sonny Gray, is it Sonny Gray tonight? So Sonny Gray's going to pitch this weekend against the Cubs.
Yep.
Probably Sunday Night Baseball if it is him tonight.
No, that'll be an interesting series. It's not one for me on the weekend. I have 2 for this week. One is Toronto going against the White Sox. If they sweep that series, as Tampa Bay and the Red Sox continue to kind of slip slide and are wishy-washy in regards to what's going on with them, Toronto can start to climb. And then again this weekend, Toronto takes on Detroit. And if the Blue Jays pitching can stay strong and the Blue Jays bats come alive, that's a series. If they win that and they sweep the White Sox, we could be watching Toronto get hot right in front of us this weekend to ride into June.
And
So that's
Toronto with the break. No
yeah,
Skubal this weekend. And
yeah.
they got Barrios going. So
That's correct. So that's an interesting one for me. The other one during the week is, and I'm not going to mention the Cubs Braves because that's something that to me is interesting and it'll prove their worth. But because they've got a tough weekend with the 3 games with Atlanta, and then 3 which they lost that series previously, most recently, and then the Cardinals being a home division. That's just a division rival. That's going to be a tough one. But the other game for me, or the other team for this week, I should say, it's this week period, is the Cincinnati Reds. They host the San Diego Padres, and then the Dodgers come to town. So they have 7. They play 7 games. No, then they play 6 games this weekend. There's 7. They play tonight.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So they play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against the Padres, and then they face the Dodgers. They're 2-5 in their last 7.
With
If
being
the,
taking 1 of 4 from the
4
Dodgers.
against the Dodgers and only 1 of 3 against the Diamondbacks. If the Reds can't win one of these 2 series, they're already in last place in the NL Central, and they're 8.5 games back. they could fall to 10, 11 games back. Now, the Mariners or the Marlins did beat the Brewers tonight,
Yep.
so that helps. But that's a series. Those two series for the Reds are big in terms of what they were a team that everyone had high hopes for. Yes, they're dealing with injuries, but that to me is a very crucial series this week against Padres and then again against the Dodgers. The other series this weekend that I'm interested in is the Red Sox Brewers. They miss Peralta, and I think at home, if the Red Sox can beat up on Tampa Bay during the week and can win the series against the Brewers, they keep that hope alive while they're waiting for Casas to come back. They're waiting for, Grisham to kind of get his feet under him, get back into his body. Losing 14 pounds in a hurry due to an illness, takes toll on your body. So that'll be a very interesting series for me. Um, and other than that, those were my only two, except watching out for Kansas City because they do have Tampa Bay this weekend. So if they can stay hot this week and then get Tampa Bay and can win that series, the Guardians are going to have someone knocking on their door really quick.
What's with the Reds getting 19 games against the NL West right here?
Their schedule sucked. They're just getting beat up. But I mean, I
Diamondbacks,
get it. But whoa,
Diamondbacks for 3, Giants for 3, Diamondbacks 3, Dodgers 4, Padres 3, Dodgers 3, and then back to the NL Central.
it's
That's
rough.
wild. You want to mix in the Rockies there and get a little momentum at least? Here's the 4 teams that are going to fight for that. Well, 3 of the 4 teams are going to fight for the wild card in the National League. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. It's going to be extremely rough. It's the Reds have to find a way to get their bats going because their pitching hasn't been horrible. It's their bats have been so inconsistent. And we talked about it earlier with Ellie De La Cruz. Steers not been horrible. He just was hotter earlier in the year and has kind of cooled off and come back down to earth. But there's no one else to support them right now. They've got TJ Friedel out on the IL again, this time with a fractured thumb. Matt McLean, I'm not sure if we see him until maybe after August, if then. And Candelario has done nothing. CES is on, I believe, the IL. He hasn't done much. Will Benson has not done anything at all. Jake Fraley is a 4th outfielder at best, and the same with Stuart Fairchild. That they're not bad defensively, but they're certainly not doing anything at bat. And Jonathan India has been so inconsistent. It's really tough to watch right now. And the Reds do have the talent; they just aren't all there together, and they're not firing. So if they have a rough week this week, it's going to be a big hole to climb out of with the way the Brewers and Cubs have been playing, and even the Pirates, as we mentioned. So it'll be interesting. So with those matchups, it leads us right into your top prospects for the week.
So the first one, I'm going to go. I actually did this week the right way.
Okay.
Where last week I did 2 hitters, and I think a couple weeks ago I did 2 pitchers, and this week I actually have a hitter and a pitcher. The first one is now. Before I get into this, I want to say that I'm working on. I know I promised it. It's not up yet, but right now we still have March for the top 100 prospects. I'm hoping to have a new one up. I guess at this point I might as well say for June. So we're going with the same rankings. I have a spreadsheet that has a new top 100. Don't worry. So when the time comes, that'll be updated. But for right now, he's ranked 25th in my top 100. Shortstop in the Tampa Bay Rays system. He's playing at Double-A Montgomery. Carson Williams. This past week, he went 8 for 18 for a 444 average, 3 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 9 runs scored, 5 walks, and a stolen base. On the season, he's hitting 346 with a 1.057 OPS, 7 home runs, 20 RBIs, 34 runs scored, and 10 stolen bases. The pitching prospect is my 82nd ranked prospect. This guy's made his way to a couple of different systems in the offseason. Right now, he is currently pitching in Double-A with the Birmingham Barons. For the Chicago White Sox, it's Drew Thorpe. And if you don't get the reference, he was traded from the Yankees to the Padres for Juan Soto. The Padres then flipped him to the Chicago White Sox in the Dylan Cease trade. This past week, he made one start. He got the win, went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, didn't allow a run, walked 2, and struck out 7. The interesting stat line is his season so far. In 8 starts, he's 6-1 with a 5.0 ERA, a 0.93 WHIP. He has 40 strikeouts in 42 innings.
Wow.
Now, I would like to see a call up to AAA coming soon for him.
Yep.
So that is my prospects for the week.
So I want to throw a twist in for next week to be thinking about. I want you to think about someone that's in the top 100 that's performed so poorly that could drop out.
Okay.
Just to be interesting, just one, one or two, or whatever, I can ask you for one. I know we're going to get 3. You kind of remind me of Moneyball. Here I did 52 player evaluations. Actually, I did 57. It's hard. You're passionate about it, and there's so much information that you can't just pick one. So it'd be interesting to kind of get an idea, especially I know it's a little behind in regards to getting the rankings out, but it'd be interesting to see who's falling out, not because people are overplaying them, but they're just performing so poorly.
Now, you want it from March's rankings?
Wherever is best for you.
Because I have a top 100 for May that I haven't been able to get out on the website, that I have a player that off the top of my head right now is already fallen.
Who is it?
Arjun Namala. And I was very high on him. He's the 3rd ranked prospect for me in the Blue Jays system. He's currently playing at Dunedin. He's hitting way under the Mendoza line. I believe he's at $157 right now for the season.
That's rough.
I had high hopes for him coming into the season. I thought for sure he would, jump up into Double-A New Hampshire at some point. But he's just struggling this season at the start. He has his moments. He's had a couple weeks where he's been hot, which has been part of the reason why I've debated, putting him in the top 100. But to me, he's definitely falling out, and I think he's going to get replaced with a Marlins pitching prospect, which seems to be all they do.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. Well, I think it went a little longer tonight than we had planned, but I think there were some conversations that had just in regards to what's been going on. It was good to get back into the swing of things. I know that last week didn't work out for me, and the timing was just poor with work and everything. But I'm looking forward to, next week. I'm looking forward to recapping a little bit of the matchups we had talked about, and looking forward to seeing some of these things we discussed, to see how Dela Cruz does, how Duran does over the next few weeks, and just see how it plays out. So, and also hopefully to see the new prospects list as well, to see who's moving, what are some new names that we can look at.
So before, I want to give my final 2 thoughts, and I got some interesting ones for you.
Okay.
The Red Sox, I've discovered today, after listening to a couple things and then doing some research, they're God's team.
Okay.
And I say that because they're the only team in baseball this season that are 8-0 on Sunday.
Really?
They haven't lost a game on Sunday. And I went through every team. Every team has lost at least one game on Sunday.
That's good for those of you who like to bet.
So,
bet the money line on the Red Sox on Sundays.
And going forward, I believe when I looked it up, and I might be wrong, but I know these 4 teams are correct. It's the Brewers, the Tigers, the White Sox, and the Yankees the next 4 Sundays. So do with that information what you want, but the Red Sox are 8-0 right now on Sundays. So I'm going to be hammering the Sox on Sunday.
Yeah, money line all day long.
Yep. I thought that was interesting when I heard that.
Yeah.
Somebody said they were 8-0, but they didn't say the rest of the league, anything about the rest of the league. So I looked up the rest of the league. Everybody else has a loss. At least one. So, take the Brewers on Sunday. I don't have the pitching matchup yet. Actually, hold on. Let me see if I can tell you who's throwing for the Sox. I think it's Hauk. So
Hammer that money line.
I don't know what the line's going to be. I don't know if DraftKings or FanDuel or any of those are going to hear us. I don't think if anybody there listens. The
Yeah,
line might be minus 200 at that point if they hear this, but I'm just telling you, there ain't no. So
that's a good
the
one.
other one, I wrote an article this past weekend that was meant a lot to me, um, but as the Red Sox struggled, they lost before Sunday. They had lost four straight. Again, they won Sunday. Shocking. Um, they lost four straight, and I think we mentioned it earlier in the podcast where it was 2-2 at one point, and then all of a sudden it became 7-2 in the eighth inning. And I ended up laying in bed. I went to bed right after the game ended, which is not normal for me on a
Yeah,
Saturday. But I was laying there and I thought, why do I keep doing this to myself? Like, I love this team. Why do I watch 162 games? Whether it's DVRing it, going back and watching a condensed game, or finding clips and going and watch. But I find everything. And so I know what's going on every Red Sox game. And losing four straight and the talk of the full throttle off season and everything that happened. And I found myself asking, why am I such a fan? Now, granted, the article is about the Red Sox, but I think if you listen to this as a baseball fan, you could go read that article and you could tie it to your team. It could be like JC for you, Cubs related from what we've talked about.
yeah,
I can tie it in even for the Tigers, done one for the Tigers. I could have done it anyway, but I wrote it the way that I did because that's how I was feeling that night. But I think it's relevant to all 29 other teams. So if you get a chance, go find that and read that. It's called "Why Do I Do This?" It's under the Red Sox tab. It's under the Cardinals tab. It's under the A's tab. You'll understand why when you read the article, but that's the tabs it's under.
yep.
It might be under one more, but I can't remember. But if you get a chance and you care about baseball and your team's struggling this season, you find yourself saying, "Why do I do this?" It's an article I highly suggest you check out.
Yeah, no, being a Cubs fan, and even, growing to pay attention to these other teams, I could certainly share first and foremost the Cubs struggles and what it means to me. And then even like I said, growing, even though they're in the same division, a little bit more with both the Pirates and what they've done in the past with some of their young prospects and not turned them into anything. And then the Reds this year. The Reds, particularly this year, I was pretty high on them and almost like them more than I did the Cubs going into it. So, no, it's a great concept. And no, definitely the Red Sox, when I saw that pop up on and seeing that, especially knowing what happened the night before, I took a look and it hits home.
Yeah, I was definitely in my feels that night and was frustrated. So,
It's a good one. So I appreciate you jumping on tonight. Again, sorry for last week, but for all the listeners, we appreciate it. Like, share, follow, join, any of our social channels that you want, so you can catch up on any of the information, any of these articles that we're mentioning, so that you can read those, get caught up, check out CJ's top 100 that is listed right now, so you can at least see what's there currently, all the player profiles, and then we've got several down on the farms. So if your team is out there, check that out, because a lot of us have been covering the top 10 prospects for those teams too. So there's plenty of content there for you to check out. Like we said, we really appreciate you guys listening.
there's 8 teams now for Down on the Farm.
That's perfect. It's
We
great.
got Blue Jays, Phillies, Red Sox, um, Tigers, Reds, Cubs, Rangers. Yankees has been missing for a couple weeks. I think that's coming back soon. So we
Nice.
will have 7 this week. One actually came out today, the Phillies.
Yep.
We will have 8 moving forward throughout the
I
summer.
shared that Phillies one for you, just so you know,
Thank
for
you.
the channels I had. So, no, a lot of good content, a lot of interesting stuff there. So there's plenty of things for you to be interested in, but it also gives you a feel for what we do. And like we've said, if you're interested, reach out. We're always looking to add more people to the family. So appreciate everyone for listening. and tuning in, and look forward to next week. So thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week.